Okay, welcome along to today's stream. This is the first one back after a short hiatus again. I was away for a holiday with my family, so wasn't able to do a stream the last couple of sessions that were scheduled. That's unfortunate, but I had a great time, so I'm not going to apologize too much. This should be me back to normal streaming timetable. So again, for those that you don't know, the intention is that I will stream on a Monday evening at 8 p.m. From the UK time, and also on a Friday on my lunch hour. So it's a shorter session on a Friday. It gives me an opportunity just to get a couple of things done. Hopefully that is on my to-do list, and that's what I'm hoping to achieve today. So let's jump in. My intention today is to look into this issue on the Cake Visual Studio Code extension. This is one that was raised a little while ago, but I'm reasonably confident that I know what the issue is, so I thought I'd take an opportunity just to get it done, basically. The reason this came about is because I recently pushed out a new version of the Visual Studio Code extension for Cake. So just have a quick look at that to Visual Studio Marketplace. Let's have a look over here and we search for Cake. Then what we should find is in here there is a new release. When was that? It says it was a day ago. Was that a day ago? No, sorry, that was when it was released. Yes, so a couple days, 3 days ago. So I pushed out a new version of the Visual Studio Code extension for Cake. The main thing behind that, the main reason behind that was that one of the Visual Studio Code team members got in touch with us to let us know that we had an entry in our package.json file that was actually preventing the code extension, or the Cake extension for code, from being able to do a hot reload when it got first installed. So I spoke to the developer about that, and actually spoke to some other people regarding it just to make sure that I knew what it was referring to. And once we got that fixed, I decided to push out a new version. But in triaging some of the issues for Visual Studio Code, I realized that this one I think we can fix. So I thought I'll take an opportunity to do this and get this pushed out as a new release soon. Although I think I've just spotted something that's not quite right, so I'll maybe just fix that first. So go back to here and have a look at Cake. The currently released version, I know why. The currently released version is 0.12, so this milestone is actually closed. So that issue that I was on is assigned to the wrong milestone, which is, I've removed it from there. Okay, fine. All makes sense now. So if I go ahead and create a new milestone called 0.13.0, create that and assign it. So this is really a bug. So I'm going to assign that to the bug label, and I'm going to create a branch locally to attempt to fix this. So currently I am on the develop branch, which is where I want to be. So I'm going to check out a new branch, git checkout -b, and I'm going to call it, this is going to be I'm going to follow the conventions of Git flow, and I'm just going to call this a feature branch, even though it's a bug technically. So this is going to be gh- what was the issue number, 93, and we're going to take that from the develop branch. Okay, so what's happening? We can actually see this happening here. So this is me running the Cake extension. So I'm just going to save this, and I'm going to run the add-in from NuGet command that the Cake extension adds to Visual Studio Code. I'm going to go ahead and run that, and up here I'm going to search for cake.gem. And in here, I'm just going to assign the first one that it comes to. So what happened there was that I had some white space in there, and it's removed it. So it's reformatting the file based on what it thinks is the right thing to do. So if I go ahead and save that again, so you'll see that I've got 2 white space lines here, and there's some more in there. If I go ahead and run that command again, and search again for cake.gem, and add in the first one, then you'll see that it loses all those things. Now, the reason that's happening, I did have a quick dig into the code earlier. So the reason that's happening is that within the source folder here, and within the, let me remember where that code actually is, add cake add-in command, I think it's in here, then write lines to file is what we're looking for. So if we do a write lines to file search, then what we should see is, that's where it's importing it, this one here. What we'll see is that the way that this is working at the minute is that it is for reaching through all the lines in the code file, and then it's adding in the one that it thinks it needs to add. So this is being passed in the files it's for reaching through each of the lines in the file, and then it's also appending in the new line that it's adding. So that is the problem, because it shouldn't be doing that. So write lines to file is being called from here. So it's getting that handle tool with content. So let's have a look and see that. Handle tool with content. So that's here. Select the package selected version. It's taking that tool directive and it's returning it. Handle module, handle tool, and then handle add. So this is where it's adding all those things. So this must be a helper method up here, which is then handle directive with file content. It is taking the directive, the selected package version, and so on. And then what it's returning is, that's the same function, right? It's itself. Yeah, so this is part of the problem, because it's doing a lot of work here that it doesn't need to do. And what I need to do is I need to figure out why the decision was made to do it this way, rather than just adding the directive to the top of the file. So what it's doing here is get file content with directive. So it's reading in the current file, and it's reading in the current file, and then it's adding the new one, and then it's returning the contents of that file back to where it then saves it again. But as we saw in the clip image extension that we've been working on, so if we go over here and look at clip image VS Code, then we can see in its source code where we do some stuff. Get content and save text to file. Oh no, that's not the one we want. Commands. Hello world command. We were doing this as a test. Yeah, it's possible to just use the editor directly and insert some code directly into the text editor that's open, rather than loading the file, adding something into it, and then rewriting to the stream. So I think that's the technique that we want to look at, rather than doing everything, using streams. I don't think the stream is necessary. So I think what we need to do is we need to look into removing the usage of the stream completely and then build from there. So what we need to look at is, so there's a function in here that is checking to see whether it contains a directive already. So we may need to continue with that. So it's picked file path, then it's loading the stream, but I don't think we would need that. So the question is, and that must be part of the reason. So if I close this build.cake and I run NuGet from there, I believe what it's doing right now, because there isn't, no, why did it do that? Let's add another one, test.cake. So let's remove that again and close both of these and say cake.gem 070. Right, so then it's asking me for which one to do. And then if I say that one, it's going to load it. So I believe that's why it ended up being done this way, because there's the potential for multiple cake files in the workspace, and we want to specify which cake file the directive is being added to. But even then, I still don't think we need to read the contents and add the directive into the stream that's returned. I think what we should do instead is to take the selected file and add it into the current editor, and then in the editor add the read it, rather than writing it as a stream. So that's what we need to look into doing. So there is another bit of code in here that, if I go, let's run that again. If I run this again, and I get rid of that build.cake file, because we're not using it, delete that, and keep that test one open, then I can install a simple sample build file. And if I do that, it loads it into the current text editor. So I want to look into how it's doing that, and then based on that, depending on which file I select, bring it into focus, and then do it that way. So if I have a look at the source code for install, then there'll be one in here that is for the build file. So what's it doing at the end of itself? It's taking that file, it's writing it, and then it is showing the document. So that's what we need to do, is we need to have VS Code take the file that we have asked for, VS Code workspace open text document, and then show it. Okay, so that's what we want to do there when we select the file, rather than, and it's already doing it here, but we don't need the stream. So this is another thing that I want to refactor the Visual Studio extension for Cake with. There's a lot of these promises. So promises are fine, but the async await keywords that now come with TypeScript make this sort of code easier to read if we use the async and await pattern rather than the promises that we're doing here. So what it's currently saying here is on the stream finish. When the stream is finished, open the document and show it, which is exactly what we are doing elsewhere. Yes, it is. It's exactly what we're doing elsewhere. So that's what we want to do, but we want to do that, then edit the file rather than edit the stream. So what we'll do then is we're not going to pass in aligns anymore, because that's not what we're going to do. So I believe we can get rid of the stream, and we can get rid of the lines, and we can just say, let's format this document a little bit better. Oops, don't need to tab that one over. So we're taking the file path for the document that was selected. We are taking a message, which is then passed in, fine. Write content to file, so we shall come back to that one as well. But this is the main one. So this is probably going to fail now, because it'll either fail at compilation time or it'll fail at execution time. So if I run that again, which is to this one, cake.jam, 70, and we need to specify, let's put it into that one. It still did it. That's slightly confusing, because it shouldn't have been able to do that. So let's see where we get to. And maybe not in the right file, maybe it's in here. Let's put some breakpoints in here, and then let's run this again. Okay, so let's run that, and we'll search for Twitter this time so that we're doing something different. And then 090, and let's put it into test.cake. So it's write lines to file rather than, so it is in there. How did, oh no, it didn't write it. It's not writing it anymore. That must have already been in there. So let's go back to that. Right, okay, perfect. So it's doing what we want it to do, almost. But what we want to do instead is we want to get the editor. So we want to do something like this. Copy. And we want to open it and show document, show text document. Is that a venable? It is. So in theory, we would then, so I'll continue that, like I say, even though this is not necessarily how I want it to be written, let's do it this way anyway. Let's continue so that we're not breaking the paradigm. We'll just keep it going. And then the overall refactoring would be to change that. So then we don't need an editor anymore, because we're giving an editor. And then what we can do is an editor dot edit. So let's borrow some of this code, and we shall add it in. So current is selection. Let's add some of this in as well. Put this in. We don't need some of this because that's for something else. So if current is empty, then we're inserting, and if it's not, we're replacing it, because there's the potential for us to select some text to replace another one. So we need to handle that as well. So what we need is a directive. So the directive that we saw before was passed in. It was returned somewhere. So let's go back to, there's something broken in here. Oh, it's just those two files there. So where we saw handle write file, just for those in the chat room, by the way, feel free to ask any questions if you have any. What I'm basically doing just now is I'm hacking on the Visual Studio Code extension for Cake, and I'm attempting to fix a bug that was identified and raised on our GitHub repo here. So feel free to ask any questions if you have any. If there's none, I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing and try to figure out what's going on. So where we were before was, where was I? Wasn't in there. Handle write file. Oh, it was one of those functions. So it was, where does this live? Or where's this called? Here we go. This was called from, the one that we're doing is an add-in. So it's in here. So handle add-in with content is then writing the file lines to file. So we're probably going to need to change the name of that because it's still technically the same. So handle add-in with content, let's find that one again, which is this one. So this one is returning the directive. So handle directive is returning that, and handle directive with file content is check cake files, show quick pick. Const directive is then doing return get file content with directive, which is this one. So then it is returning a promise that is resolving what? It is resolving the lines. So we don't want the lines anymore. We want this to resolve a... Oh no. Okay, so that's fine. So let's just take this out of here then. Oh, we're doing that in the wrong place. I don't think we need the handle write file at all anymore. Because what we're going to do instead is do all the work here. Because this is where we have all the information that we want. Yeah, I think this is what we want to do. So we don't want the stream. So in the same way as before, we're going to remove the stream. So let's take that out. We'll take that out. We'll take the content out. Contain directive is false. So we can take the stream out. That's an error, so we don't need that. And then on end, we are going to take this stuff out. We'll still need the resolve in there because we still need to return something. So let's resolve that. And then let's have a look to see what we're doing in here. So we remove the content, so we can get rid of that. Oh, hold on. Else content.push. Contains directive with package. I wonder if that's why it was done this way. Because this seems to be checking for a existing an existing directive. It's checking to see if it contains the directive already, and if it does, it doesn't do anything with it. I'm still not clear on whether that's good or bad, so let's test that theory out. So if we go into my running instance of this, and we do the following. If I do the add in from NuGet, and let's do cake.gem and say 070, then it will add it. Beautiful. If we do it again with the same cake.gem and with 070, then it won't do it. So the change that I'm currently making will add it. So we may have to handle that differently. But for now, let's have a look and see what we need to do here. So let's maybe just take that out then. So currently we were saying handle write file. That's the working version. Let's close off some of these. So I was in here attempting to do some stuff. So I actually think all of this wants to come over to here. So let's copy this and put it in here and see what happens. File path, picked file path is that one. So it's the name slightly different. So let's put this in here. Then window is part of workspace. So let's put that in here. And let's go back to where we were. Image file path is... Oh no, that's what we're inserting it with. So this will be the directive. So where did we have that? We're pushing in the directive line, or we were pushing in line.toString, new line, directive line. I think it's this one. So we're going to want to put this in instead, and put this in instead, and let's remove this other stuff. Okay. So that will then mean that where we were doing that stuff, oh, what was message? Message was package name. So package name, and this is going to be picked file path. Picked file path. And then let's remove those again, the ones we don't need. And now I'm saying that this handle write file is no longer needed at all, I don't think. Let's find out all the places that this is used. So I don't think we need that. I don't think we need that. I don't think we need that. Oops. So I don't think we need that one. I don't think we need that one. And we don't need this one. So there'll probably be an include up here, which we don't need. Let's save that. We'll leave that in there just now, and that is currently still being imported. But so let's take both of those out. Let's be bold and take all of those out. Fine. So that was that function, and the other one was write content to file. Let's see where that's being used. It's not. Okay. Let's save some of these things, and let's see where we get to. So let's close off these ones that we opened and get back to the code that we added. So that was in here. So let's set a breakpoint there then and see what happens when we do stuff. It broke. Can't find the image file path. Well, that's okay, because we're not actually using this function anymore, are we? So let's just take it out. Let's say we're not using it anymore and see if that now runs, which it does. Okay. So if we say then add add-in from here, and we search for Twitter, and we search for that, interesting. So it doesn't know the one I've got open, so that's okay. Then we're in here. So if we then get down to here, what happens then? So we have an editor. We don't have a selection, I don't think. So let's set a breakpoint in here. So current is empty is true because there's no selection. So then it's going to attempt to insert the directive line, which is cake.twitter. And if we do that, what happens? Oh, look at that. And what should have happened there is it should no longer format the file. So before, if we had any blank lines and we did that, then it would have stripped out those. So cake.getter is another one. And if we say test.cake again, let's remove some of these breakpoints so that we can see what it does in real time. Then we have cake.getter and we don't have any of the lines stripped out. So we're getting somewhere. So we've fixed the original bug, but we've introduced something else. So one of the problems now is if I do cake.getter again with 010, then it'll just add it. So it's not checking. So the previous version that we've just fixed would have checked to see if the cake.getter directive was already in use. And we've said that is we've blown that away, right? But what we have provided is the ability to do things like this. So if we decided we didn't want version 9 and we wanted to check to see what there was, so we could search here for cake.twitter, and rather than 09, we could say 08, then it would replace that one. So it's slightly better in some respects because we've allowed the ability to replace some text that's selected, and we've also allowed it to add it to anywhere. So if we go in here, arguably you probably wouldn't want to do this, but if we said cake.npm as another example and did 16 and added it into there, then it adds it into the current location. Okay? So the question that I have in my head is, do the things that have changed outweigh, or rather, do the things that have been added cause so do the things that I've added, are they better than the way it was before, to the point that it doesn't matter that that functionality doesn't exist anymore? Regardless of any of that, it would be a breaking change because it's breaking functionality that did exist before. I'm questioning in my mind whether we need the ability to select a file. So we could argue the case that if there is no .cake file selected in the current editor, if the current editor is not a .cake file, then we shouldn't insert at all. So rather than running off and trying to find all of the .cake files in the current workspace, just don't allow the user to run that command if it's not a .cake file. I think I prefer that one. It reduces a little bit of complexity. And it would also remove the need to do this code that we had here. So we'd remove the need to do this because it's already there. So that's a possibility. What do I prefer? What do I think is a good idea? I'm wondering if the quick pick. So where is the quick pick? There must be a quick pick option here for a few places. So it's saying show file quick pick, and it's asking it to be returned for here. So handle directive with file content is being used if the so what's happening here? Let's have a quick look. Are we still running? No, I don't think we are. Let's run this again. So let's do adding of, say, cake dot, let's just do npm again. npm 16. So result.length is 2. Oh, I see. So it will always show the quick pick if there are more than 2 cake files in the workspace. I'm not sure if that's the right way to do it, because if I've already got the file open, if I've already got the file open, then why not just add it in here? Why do I need to select which one it's going into? I'm not sure if I like that workflow, actually. Is there anyone in the chat room who's actually using this piece of functionality in the Cake extension? Is there any comments on how it currently works and whether it should do that? Because otherwise, I think I might just change some stuff. So check Cake files file path. Let's see what that does. So this is the function. So it's basically returning check files path, which is there, which is looking in a specific folder with a matcher and an extension. So it is get files path. See, this is one of the things I don't necessarily like about the current. There's lots of stuff going on. So it's reading a directory, it's attempting to see if it is a file using stats, and all of that is coming from here. So found files length. So it's returning the array of them, and then it's showing that to the quick picker. So the question becomes, do we want that? I don't think we do. I think instead we would just. So is that the only place that's using that? Check files path. That's the only place it's being used. I think there's some complexity in here that we just need to remove. And I'm tempted to say that I'm going to take it out. I think I'm going to take it out. Because we'll just add it into the... So where's this actually being passed to? It's being passed through. We don't even need that. So if we change this up and say if we just do all of these things. So root path is not needed. Let's just start taking some things out. Then caked file can come out of there. That didn't like what I did there. Expected 4 arguments, we've got 4. So that can only be because this one is expecting that file to be passed in. So let's take that out then. So then that can come out. So let's do some on the fly changes here, shall we? And I think we can move that over there. So rather than that, then we want to use this. So let's do this. VS Code won't be there, but we're using Windows, which we do have. So let's just do that. Then we're no longer specifying what the file is, so we'll just say current file. Run the script to get the package. So then I think I have got still an extra one here. There we go. So let's put this over here and see where that gets us. All imports are unused. Beautiful. So let's take those out then, since we're not using them. And let's see what that does. Should still work, he says. So if I do gem and Twitter, so let's do npm because it's not in this file. npm 16 and run. Haha, look at that. So it added it in. And if I take that selection and say cake.slack, so let's replace cake.npm with cake.slack. Let's take that breakpoint out and run it. Then it replaced cake.slack. Okay. So that part worked. So we've done some refactoring there and removed some stuff that is no longer needed. So the question becomes, are the other ones still working? I think there's some more refactoring that we can do here. Directive isn't being used anymore. Why is directive? Because we're only using the directive line. Get file content as directive. Where's that being called from? return what is, oh, directive is whether it is a tool or an add-in or a module. I don't necessarily care about that anymore. So that will then break this one, but if we're not using it, let's take it out. Fine. Okay. Contains directive with package. So that's the part that we've broken. So we still need to do that part. That doesn't seem to be being used anymore either. Okay. We haven't got a reject in that promise. We should probably tidy that up at some point as well. But I feel we're getting somewhere. Let's see if this is still working based on that latest round of changes. So let's go back to the beginning and say cake.gem. Gem 7. Good. Let's do another one that is going to be a tool. So let's use, what's a good example? NUnit runners. And let's say we wanted that one. Okay, so that seems to work as well. And module. See if we haven't broken that. So this one would be cake, cake.net. Should return, what's it called? Cake.net module? What's it called? I know there is a module because I wrote it. Cake.net. There we go. That's why. Let's try that again. Module. That one. There we go. There we go. So module, tool, and cake. So that part's all still working. So I think that's good. So it's coming up to the top of the hour. So I'm going to draw it to a close soon. But from a functionality point of view, I think I'm happy that we haven't lost that much compared to what was there before. So I think I'm happy. I'm going to have to do some additional work to verify that the package doesn't currently exist. But I think I can do that part when I've actually got the editor. So if I go and have a look at the code where we were actually, that wasn't there. We've get files path. I think actually, let me just think about this before. Get files path. Get files path. I don't think we're using that one anymore. So again, I think we can remove that because it was only being used once, and or was it check, because check files path isn't being used. Check files path is imported there, thingy there. Yeah, we're not using that. So let's just tidy up some of this stuff as well. So that's the file itself. So it can go away. Move it to the recycle bin. And what are you complaining about? You're complaining about that being used there. Okay. Good, good, good. So this should still work, he says. Oops, what did that do? Did that hit a breakpoint? No. Oh no, I think it did. Oh, I think I broke something. Did I? Cake add-in from NuGet, cake.gem. There. Let's do that one more time. Make sure I didn't make it up. And added it again. Okay. So we haven't broken anything, but we have refactored quite a bit there. And where I was going with that thought process before I tidied up that part was to look at get files path isn't used. I'm going off on a tangent again. Get files path. We can get rid of that file too because it's not being used. Yes. The thought process I was having was where we actually do the edit, which is in here. I'm fairly sure that the editor has a .document lines. I'm fairly sure that I can enumerate the lines of the current editor document, which would allow me to do that inspection to see whether the directive that's been requested is actually already there. And if it is, we can make an informed decision about not doing it. So we can do that enumeration in place at this point. So let's just have a... No, I won't do that because it's going to take me off on a tangent. So I think I fixed the bug. We've lost some functionality, but we can add it back in again. And I really don't think that the functionality that was there before for if there was multiple cake files was the correct way of doing it. So I think I'm okay with that removal. If there are any comments to that effect in adding that back in, feel free to let me know. But for now, I think this has been a successful launch. I have done some editing on a file that a bug that was annoying me. So I've got into the root cause of it. I have a work in progress that I can push up as a PR, and I'll do that later. I don't really have time because it's coming up to the top of the hour just now. But my next stream, if you're interested, if we go to here and have a look at what's upcoming, live streams, then the next one that's scheduled is a colleague of mine called Matthias, also known as Dev Lead on Twitter, Matthias Carlson. He is going to be joining me on my Monday night stream, so the longer session, and we're going to be looking into improving the cake.website, the cake build website, so cakebuild.net. So currently the way that this is deployed is a reasonably lengthy process because of the way that we actually push the files up to Azure. So Matthias thinks he has a better way of doing that by deploying a zip file of the contents of the, because it's a static website, so we bundle everything up into a zip file. And he thinks he can improve the time it takes for that to occur. So I'm going to sit with Matthias and go through exactly what that process is and how we can improve it. So that's the topic of that one. And after that, I haven't really thought about any future topics yet. But if you have any suggestions, as always, feel free to add an issue here with any suggestions about what you think make a good stream. If there are no more added here, then I'll probably just pick something that's of interest to me. But yeah, that's about it. So I'm going to sign off now. But like I say, feel free to get in touch, and if there's nothing else, I will speak to you later. Thank you very much.